And let's see if I can share my screen. I hope you can. Dan, can you see my reading? Yes. Okay, so I'll do a very quick review of the bits of passage we've covered already. So this is from Anguttara Nikaya, Book of Sixes, and the Sona Sutta. And it starts with what we spoke about last time, which can be seen as what's known as a genitive absolute type of construction, using past participles in the genitive with the genitive te. Sona here appears, of course, in the vocative. And we have this kind of question start, nanu, which we've had before. I think this was covered in lesson 3. So, is it not, or is it not the case, perhaps, Sona, while alone in seclusion, so we can perhaps translate that genitive absolute as the while. And the subject here is pare vitako. So vitaka is thought, and then with the prefix pare, it tends to have the sense of like a train of thought, a line of thought, a sequence of thoughts, a sequence of thinking. This sequence of thoughts, udapadi, arose. That's our aorist form. For you, chetaso, in your mind. So this is chetas in the dative. So isn't it the case, maybe we can translate, while alone in seclusion, this line of thinking arose for in your mind, or for you in your mind. And then this is the direct speech that the Buddha is sort of reading Sona's mind. Ye ko keichi. So we've had keichi before. It's an indefinite pronoun. It's k, ke, with that chi, ci thing, clitic, joined together, which gives that indefinite sense. And it's of those, savaka, nominative plural, of those disciples, and those disciples are described as aradavirya, energetic, and then, of course, our verb in the plural, who dwell energetically, of those disciples of the Buddha. So bhagavato, genitive, of those disciples who dwell energetically of the Buddha. Ahang tesang anyataro, I am one of them. And then he goes on to think, Atta chapana me na anupadaya asavehi chitang vimuchati. And so perhaps we can take atta chapana as a sort of like a but. And then the subject is the mind, his mind, chitang, of me, my mind, but my mind, na vimuchati, is not liberated from the asavas, asavehi, by non-clinging, anupadaya. And then he goes on to think, Sangvijanti kopana me kule boga. There exists, Sangvijanti, plural, wealth. This is our subject, or in the plural, and we spoke about how in Pali, the idea of wealth is expressed as a plural, but in English, at least, we express it as a singular, so we can keep it as a singular, but we understand it's really plural. Wealths exist for me in my family, kule. And then this is that special word we've had before, sakha, it is possible, and it usually takes the infinitive form of the verb. Here we have bunjitung, to enjoy, and then we have our accusative plural, wealths, and katung, to make merits, punyani. And then we had yang nu ahang sikang pachakaya hinaya vativa boge cha bunjayang punyani cha chareyang. So this compound, yang nun ahang, is translated something like let me now, or perhaps I can. And it usually goes with the optative form of the verb, which we see here. But first we have two absolutives. So let me now, pachakaya, having abandoned, sikang, the training, and then we have hinaya vativa, having returned to the lower life, meaning abandoning being a monastic, because in the, I'm sorry to say, Pali way of thinking, at least, the lower life is the lay life, and the sort of higher life would be the monastic life. So having abandoned the training and having returned to the lower life, I can, this is here our optative, I can enjoy wealths and make merits. So this is the Buddha speaking, by the way, but he's reading the line of thought, the thinking that Sona has had. And of course, Sona has to answer, Evang Bhante, yes, sir, that is right. And so the Buddha continues his line of questioning. Tung king manyasi Sona kusalo tvang pube agarya bhutto vinaya tantisare ti. So tung king manasi, what do you think? Sona, vocative. So before pube agarya bhutto, having been a householder, that's agara, and then tvang kusalo, you are skilled, and then we have vinaya tanti sare. So tanti, that's a feminine I, short I noun, means string. Sara, in this case, means sound. So in a literal sense, it means string sound, locative. You are skilled in string sound of the vina. So, isn't it true, or what do you think, Sona? Before, as a householder, you were skilled in, maybe we would say in more normal English, playing the vina? Yes, Bhante. Okay. And then maybe we can continue. Jim, would you like to continue for us?
I'm good continuing, but I also had a question.
Yeah.
When you just translated Tam Kin Manyasi,
Yeah.
Manyasi's the second singular, but isn't Tam the accusative?
Yeah. So I guess
So,
in a literal sense, it would mean, what do you think about that?
so it's not it's not the second person pronoun. It would be then
It's accusative
it's accusative, so it would be like
of the thinking. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? Something like that.
okay,
It's
that makes
very
sense.
common. It's sort of idiomatic.
Thanks.
Sure.
All right. So tam kim manyasi sona yada te vinaya tantiyo achayata hanti apinute vina tasmin samaye saravati vahoti kamanya vati.
Okay.
So I translated what do you think, but based on what you just said, I guess what do you think of that? Sona, when the strings of the lute, so tantillo strings, Vinaya in the genitives. So when the strings of the lute, and then I jumped at the hoti, are too loose,
Mm-hmm.
then does the lute have melodiousness over time, the samaye, and is it ready for playing?
Right. So Apinu is asking the question, this is interrogative, Tusming Samaye, locative of time. These are both locatives, meaning at that time, or then. And can you explain Saravati for us?
Saravati, it's like having resonance or melodiousness.
Yeah, but can you explain it grammatically?
So
Well, what's Sara?
Sara is
Sara means sound, in this case. And what kind
oh,
of noun is it, or adjective? What group or class of nouns would this kind of go into or be a part of?
um,
Saravant,
okay.
which is that kind of possessive. The vant suffix sort of has that quality of possessing or having sound. But notice, what gender is this word?
It's feminine, right?
It is feminine. Why? What is it describing?
It has it's because it's describing the um the lute.
It's like, yeah, the vina. And so vina, this is the nominative here. Vina is a feminine noun. This is the feminine nominative. So why is it Saravati with this long I? Because it is a feminine formation of Saravant. So that's why it's not Saravato or Sara or one of those masculine. If you look on page 70, I'll just make sure we understand this point. It explains on page 769, in fact, we have the masculine paradigm. And so the word used to give the paradigm is sila, right? Which is maybe virtue. And so silava would be a masculine adjective, virtuous, or silavanto. But notice that those are masculine, but we need to match vina a feminine. And so on the top of the next page, it explains for us, this is now top of 70, the feminine form is formed by adding the I to vant or mant. So for instance, Jim, let me ask you, the word for mindful is satima, right? Based on the word sati. What would be if this adjective, satima, mindful, was referring to a woman? How would we make satima?
Would be satami,
Satimati,
satimati.
just like Saravati. So
Okay.
Vant and Mant are similar. So that explains why we have Saravati. It is a feminine adjective from that want group of words, and it's describing Vina. And so what case, of course, then is kamanya and gender.
That would also have to be a nominative feminine.
Right. Right. So give us one more time your full translation of this whole sentence in English.
Okay. What do you think, Sona, when the strings of the lute are too loose? Then does the lute have melodiousness over time, or is it ready for playing?
Yeah, it's not really, I mean, melodiousness over time sounds a little odd to me as an English language translation. I think what it means is then, at that time, when the strings are too loose, too tight, is the vina melodious and, say, easy to play?
Okay.
Do you see that? And the answer, of course, comes no he tung bante. Certainly not, Venerable Sir. Okay. And Sarah, can you continue for us, please?
Yes, I was just trying to raise my hand because I have a question. So if it was the saravant in masculine, describing a masculine noun, it would be sarava.
Yeah, like
Okay.
silava.
Okay. Yeah.
But that long I gives us, like bhikkhuni, it
Okay.
gives us that feminine.
Okay, I had a tendency whenever I see that long I think it's nominative, singular, aunt, noun or adjective, but I lost the nuance of masculine versus feminine. So
Yeah, these words have to be matching in the right gender.
Right.
So it can be nominative, masculine, neuter, or feminine.
yes, you learn something every day when it comes to Pali. So okay, so I think we're at Tang King Manyase Sona Yada Te Vinaya. Is that the next paragraph?
Keep going.
Vinaya tantio atisitila honti. Api nute vina tasming samaye saravati va hoti kamanya vati. So isn't it so, or what do you think? No, let me start again. So what do you think, Sona? Isn't it so, or isn't it that when your lute strings, the tantio vinaya.
Yeah, what case is vinaya?
Vinaya is, let's see, let me look, I should know it.
And what case is also tantio?
I think they're both locative.
No.
No. Okay, hang on one second. Oh, it's genitive. Tantia.
No. What kind of noun is tanti?
Oh, sorry. I've confused myself. It is tanti is, in the case of it's tantiya, I think it's become an adjective. It's in the feminine nominative plural.
Yes, it's the feminine nominative plural. That's right.
Okay.
So remember that tantiyo is the plural feminine nominative case ending.
Okay, and I was thinking the ya ending
would
make it, no.
It's nominative.
It is nominative, okay.
Plural. And so the strings, that's the subject of this sentence. And then te vinaya, what case?
So te vinaya that's going to be genitive.
Yeah, of your vina.
Of your vina.
The strings of, so yada, maybe we could translate as when.
Mm-hmm.
When the strings of your vina, ati sithila honti, what is that?
Okay, so that is too loose.
Yeah, so notice how the adjective ati sithila is matching feminine, and it would be plural.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go on.
Okay, so then the apinu is like an interrogative, like isn't is it at that, during that time?
That's Tasmin Samaye.
Yeah, Tasmin Samaye, at that time, or during that moment, I guess, is the lute,
Yeah,
or
here
the
in the
vini,
nominative, right? The vina.
Yeah. Is it ready to play? We just covered that, kamanya.
And what about Saravati?
The Saravati is, we just did the feminine nominative singular of the ant ending.
But how do you translate it?
Oh, okay. How do I translate that? Or is the vinia melodious during that time or ready to play?
Okay,
that's
good.
My awkward translation. So
right, good. And of course, the answer is no.
No, hitang bante.
Okay, now we can continue. Fiakra, can you continue for us?
Sure. So, yada panate sona vinaya tantiyo na achayata honti na tisitila samegune patita apinu tevina tasming samaye saravati na hoti, saravati va hoti kamanya vati.
Okay.
Vang bante. Mm-hmm. And ivameva ko sona.
Wait, hang on. Let's translate this bit first.
Okay, yeah. So, bear with me just. So when the strings of the lute sona are neither too taut nor too loose, and then samegune patita I've translated as established in a state of balance.
Okay.
So I just got the established from the vocab, and then samegune I'm translating it as a locative.
Right. So patita would be, I guess, a past participle, would be established. It's referring, of course, to the tantio, the strings, and then we have this locative same gune. So same, in fact, looks a lot like same, and I think it has a very similar meaning because, well, sama with one M, one of the meanings is something like balanced, equal, the same. And guna is a quality, but putting it together, I think, as you've said, I think as equally. How did you say it? That was good.
Established in a state of balance is the way.
Okay, good. Then now go on.
So then, apinu tevina tasming samaye saravati va hoti kamanya vati. So is not your lute then at that time melodious and easy to use,
or maybe easy to play? Yes,
yeah.
Right.
So don't they say it has good action when it's neither too taut or too loose?
Right. Yeah. For a string instrument, what's called the action means the resistance one feels when pressing the string or pulling the string. And of course, when the string is very taut, the instrument feels very, very stiff, and it can hurt your hand. And I think if the strings are too floppy, it's the sort of reverse problem. I notice here that the va is or, but we're translating it more like and, because it's these two qualities together, as you did.
Okay, yes. Va means or, yeah.
But I think here you quite correctly used and. It's better.
And, yeah.
Okay, let's go on then.
Great, thank you. Oh, sorry, yes, I'm continuing, yes. So, evang bante, evameva ko sona, achara daviryang udacha sangvatati.
Wait, hang on, it's udachaya.
Udachaya, sorry, yes. Udachaya sangvatati atisitila viryang kosa jaya sangvatati.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll stop there for a minute. So just so just so sona, so acharada viryang is overexertion, and so udachaya I've got is agitation. So overexertion leads to agitation.
Okay.
And then atisitila viryang kosajaya sangvatatiti. So slackness of energy leads to indolence.
Right. So notice here a couple of things. So we have this verb sangvatati, which we know takes the dative, as you've said.
Yeah.
So that's why it's udachaya.
Udachaya.
And kosajaya. Kosajaya. Yeah, right. So, and also this word, curious word, which exists in the neuter here, acharada viryang. So viryang is energy. It's a neuter noun. And acharada, it's based originally on the verb arabati, which we've had, which is to arouse, to generate. And then this would be, I think, the past participle, arada. And then it is compounded with the prefix ati, so which has the sense of too much, exceeding. But when the ati and the arada join together, there's a sort of smoothing out of these consonants. It's assimilated, and that's why we have the ach, A-C-C, ach
Okay, so
arada. So it's really ati arada, but that becomes in Pali acharada, probably because it's a bit easier to say.
okay, so we had arabati as the beginning, or to stir up, or so it's beginning really is so too much stirring up of energy, or is that right?
Or establishing too much, making too much energy.
Making
Right?
too much energy. Yeah.
As you said, like an excess of energy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And udacha is actually, we probably know that word because it's one of the 5 hindrances.
Yes.
Right. It's usually translated, I think, as restlessness.
Restlessness, yes.
So an excess of energy leads to restlessness, and see here, interestingly, we have the prefix ati without the assimilation, ati. So
okay.
the too much slackness or the too looseness of energy leads to kosaja in the dative, to laziness.
And does ati always transform before a vowel, or is it only in certain circumstances? Or
generally, that's how it works.
Okay, yeah. We'll look out for it. Yeah.
Okay, now I want just to point out something for this next sentence before you go ahead. It struck me as interesting that there seems to be a variance of readings, and in my humble opinion, I think that the textbook has it not quite right. In this compound, virya samatang, I think this H has been omitted, and it's made to match the next word that looks a lot like it, samatang. But in fact, I think it should be samatang with the aspirated T, because that's how it exists in the Burmese edition. And so, of course, samatha is a word we probably all know because it's one of the sort of 2 big classifications of meditation, right? Samatha and Vipassana. So samatha has the sense of serenity, and without the H, samatha has the sense of equalness or balance. So that's just I made a footnote here. Let's see here. I'll just, as a preview, this is what the commentary says. Resolve on serenity combined with energy. The meaning is link energy with serenity. That's what the commentary tells us about this sentence, which is why I also think that it should be with this H. So why don't you go ahead and read and translate this next bit for us, please?
Okay, yeah. So tasmatiha tvang sona virya samatang aditaha indriyan nancha samatang pativija tata cha nimitang gan ha he ti.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so a lot going on here.
Yes, there is. I think
Interesting.
I think I had difficulty with this one. I'm not sure if I actually succeeded in getting it right. So let's see. So I'll try it again now. So tasmatiha. So I was translating that as, okay, tasma is just likewise, or it's usually, we usually see yasma, tasma. So and I'm treating the previous clause just like a yasma clause, or the previous sentence as that. So just so you sona, so virya samatang. Now good. So it's virya samatang. So you're translating this as, so energy, tranquility.
Maybe. Or balance. Yeah. And what is aditaha?
Aditataha. Okay, is that overpowering? Is that right? Did I get that right, or am I?
Yeah, what kind of verb is it from a grammatical point of view?
Aditaha. I believe it is a past participle. Am I right?
No.
No, I'm not. Okay.
It is a imperative form of the verb. I guess it would be aditahati.
Oh, sorry. Yes, you didn't say so there. Sorry. Yes.
And so it has the sense of like resolve on, practice this, strive to do this. I think aditanha is one of the 10 paramis, in fact.
Okay.
So aditaha is imperative. So the Buddha is exhorting, or sort of strongly recommending, that Sona do this, right? So that's the quality of the imperative, sort of like, please do this. Aditaha.
So please. So this is. So okay. So please do this, which is the the energy, tranquility.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. And then Indri Yancha. So this is the Indriya was the faculty. Samatang. So pativicha. So is that to make your faculties still? Is that right?
Yeah. What is pati vija? What kind of word is that?
Pativicha. I'm going also with imperative there as well.
Yes.
And then,
And what is it? How would you translate it?
So pativija. I would only be guessing. I think I've come to pativija. So having penetrated, intuited, acquired, or comprehended is what it says in the
Right.
thing.
Maybe we can say achieve or something like
Achieve.
that.
Okay, so achieve. Indran. So okay, so and then so this would be, Indriya would be in the genitive then. So achieve tranquility of the faculties. Is that right?
I think they're both accusative. Indriyanang.
Indriyanang.
Well, no, I think you're right. Yes. So
Yeah.
samatang would be accusative, and then genitive plural. Indriyanang.
So
Yes.
Indriyanang cha samatang pativicha. So that's achieve tranquility of the faculties. Yeah, is that right?
Yes. Of course, there's a bit of a question what these indriya are. I know Venerable Bodhi takes this to be what are called the spiritual faculties.
Okay.
And that would make sense. So I'll read you his translation.
Sure.
As I said, this is a little bit of a challenging passage to understand and translate. So he
Yeah.
says, therefore, Sona, resolve on a balance of energy, achieve evenness of the spiritual faculties. So he is using this as the spiritual faculties. And then this somewhat interesting phrase, tatacha nimitang ganhahi. So here, ganhahi, again, would be ganhati in the imperative. So take up, tata, there, nimitta, accusative. So a nimitta would be a sign or an object. So take up your object there. What that would mean, maybe it would mean that's how you should meditate.
Okay, yeah, and then of course we're going with virya samatang as balance of energy. Then
Yes, that's how he's
Sure.
and I'll show you one more time what the commentary has to say about this passage. It's here. Resolve on serenity combined with energy. The meaning is link energy with serenity.
Okay,
So samatha is that with the H would be that serenity.
serenity.
And
Yes.
so there's a balance of serenity and energy. Right? So in other words, this whole reading is about finding a balance between extremes, a sort of middle point.
Yes.
Not too slack, not too tight. Not too energetic, not too lazy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any questions about this reading before we go on? None. Wow. Okay. Then I guess we can go on. Very good. All right. So then we will go on to Anguttara Nikaya Book of Sevens, Kodana Sutta. So this sutta. Tet, do you have a question?
Yes, Stephen.
Yep. Okay.
Can you please explain a little bit about the imperative verbs? The three of them do not look similar to me. The last one with he.
Yeah. Why is it ganha he? It's a good question.
Thank you.
Let's see if have we had in our book imperative yet? I think we must have. Let me take a quick look.
Yes, on page 36.
Page 36. We've had the second person, so that would be the he. Let me see. It would seem that if we look at this, that the he is the suffix, the ending given normally. So that would be ganha he. The I is lengthened, of course, because of the T. And then it says here, if the present stem ends in short A, the stem alone may be used as a second person singular imperative. And we're given laba, you get. And so I think that's what's happening here. So
I see. Thank you.
I hope that answers your question. So we have these variants for the imperative, depending on the nature of the vowel, what the vowel is. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Okay, so let's see. Diane, would you like to start us with this sutta about anger, koda?
Okay.
I tried to figure out the meter.
I couldn't figure out the meter.
It seems to be in groups of 8. Kodano dubano hoti, atto dukampi seti so, atto atanga hetvana, an attang adipajati, Tato kayena vachaya vadang kadvana kodano kodabibuto puriso dana janing nigachati.
Well
So sort
done,
of
Stephen.
not such an esoteric kind of meter, but we don't have to worry about that here. So what is a kodano?
A kodano is, well, koda is anger. A kodano is an angry person.
Yeah, right.
And dubano is...
Well, read it out for us first, just the first two lines.
Kodano dubanohoti, ato dukam piseti so, ato atam gahetvana, anatam adipajati.
Yes, and also there's this alternate reading, adigachati. We can talk about that in a minute. That would be the Sri Lankan reading. Go ahead.
So an angry person, I go to hoti is, dubano is ugly.
Yes.
And ato dukam piseti so, sati is like, it can be sleeps, it can be dwells, it can be lives. And dukam is like miserably. It's an adverb here, poorly. So also he sleeps poorly.
Right. So atto is also, and it's going with this P too. And dukang is, as you said, that it's accusative functioning adverbally. So so is the he, referring to the kodano. So also he sleeps poorly or badly.
Badly.
Okay.
So atto atam gahetvana. Gahetvana is an absolutive. So having gotten atam, which is either a benefit or a profit or well-being, and atto is like further or also. So having gotten well-being, anatang adipajati, or you said adigachati, which doesn't make sense to me, but I translated it, he comes to disadvantage.
Yes, that would be adipajati. So in other words, having gotten some benefit, he comes to harm, right? Or if you will choose adigachati, it would be he takes that to be harm. In other words, he sort of misunderstands this atta, this benefit.
Well, that seems to make more sense.
I think that's how Venerable Bodhi took it. Either one seems like an option. I don't know. That's why I just put it as an option. I think our book has adipajati, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but I think adigachati is another good choice. Okay, you want to do the next one for us? Go for it.
Tato kayena wachena.
Vachaya.
Vachaya. Tato kayena wachaya. Oh, I know what I was doing. Vadam katvana kodano. Koda bibuto puriso. Danajaning nigachati. Danajaning nigachati. So tato or thence or further by body or by speech. Okay, I'm going to go to an angry person, kodano. An angry person, katvana, absolutive, having done vadam harm, then by body or by speech.
Very good. Good.
And then in the third and fourth line, a pariso, which is a person. Koda bibuto is abibuto is overcome with anger. A person overcome with anger, nigachati, undergoes dana janin. Jani is loss, and dana is wealth. Or is it also grain?
I think here it would be sort of wealth.
Okay, he undergoes or he comes to losing his wealth, loss of wealth.
Good. Thank you. So I put down here, I think, this word abhibhavati, and it's built upon this past participle of bhavati, bhuta, abhibhuta, overwhelmed, overpowered, and then it's compounded with anger. So this person, as Diane said, quite right, this person overpowered or overcome by anger, he undergoes a loss of wealth. Right. Okay. Lisa, could you continue for us?
Yes. Koda samada samato ayasakyam nikachati. Nyati mita suhaja cha vajanti koranang. So I have overpowered, that is samato, overpowered by the samatha, the intoxication of anger.
Good.
Koda. So overpowered by the intoxication of anger, he suffers nigachati. Ayasakyam is dishonor. He suffers dishonor.
Mm-hmm.
And then nyati mita. So this word nyati, I had a little bit trouble with it. I think it's from nyati, relative. Is that?
That's
that
what
right?
it means.
Relative.
I mean, as you can see, it has that root nya there. So it would be like the ones one knows, but that's a little vague. Known ones, but it does have, as you said, quite right, like relatives. There's another word for relatives which literally means blood relatives, sa lohita. But I understand this nyati to be one's relatives, and it's compounded with what?
Okay, it's with mita, so that is a plural friends. So together it's relatives and friends.
Yes, and
Yeah. And is it suhaja? The good. I have good-hearted ones.
good. Because why? How did you get to that?
So su is like well, good, and then haja, I think it's from the I forgot the root. It's from heart.
Yeah, the word for heart, hadya.
Hadya, yeah.
So suhadya, it's like ones who are very dear to our heart.
Okay, and then the verb pari vajanti is avoid, and then koranang is the accusative, the angry one.
Yes, so this verb refers to these three groups of people, and they are all avoiding the angry one. Good. Go. Can you please do the next sequence?
Yes. Anatta janano kodo chitta pakopano bayamanta rato jatang tang jano nava bujati. So kodo is the anger. Janano, anatta janano is causing anatta, so I have disadvantage. And then anger, kodo chittapa kopano is pakopano is upsetting. So anger is upsetting the mind.
Yes. So how would you give me? I didn't quite understand for the first part. Anatta janano.
So I took janano as a janano as a present participle, so causing. So that's causing, and then anatta is like the disadvantage.
Right. So this is sort of like equational sentence. It's sort of an implied hoti, right? That's why we have this double accusative. So anger is a cause of harm or a cause of disadvantage, anatta. Good. And then anger, we could say, stirs up mental turmoil or something like that. Chitta pakopano, mental disturbance. And please go on.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I have a question. Can I take it as a present participle?
Which one?
Janano and pakopano?
Well, I took them as nouns.
Okay.
I'm not sure, actually.
Okay.
I'm actually not sure.
Okay. Baya mantarato is
What case is this?
This is a nominative.
No, I
right?
don't think so. Well, tell me your explanation first.
Okay, so bayam is fear and antarato is from within.
Okay.
Oh, so I see. So that's not the subject. I'm gonna start with Jano. So a person, and then the verb is avabhujati. Oh, nava bhujati does not realize, and then does not realize the fear, the bayam.
Yeah, so the tongue, the object of this verb, is referring back to this bayang antara. Bayang antara to. That's how I took it. Bayang antara, I thought it would be an ablative suffix, to. So born from anger or peril would be born from within. Antara. A person, Jano, this is the subject, navabhujati, does not understand that. That's how I took it.
Okay.
So I took this compound as bayang antara, which would be inside, and then this to suffix, which I read as an ablative.
An ablative. Okay. So can I read the whole sentence?
Yes, please.
Together? Okay. So a person does not realize that fear was born from within.
Yes, right. The person, na avabhujati, does not understand that bayang antarato, peril born from within. Right. Jatang would be born. Right. Good.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Tet, could you please continue for us?
Sure. Kodo atang na janati kodo dhamma na pasati. Kodo is the interrogative. How come? Why?
No.
Oh,
I would take
no,
kudo
sorry.
as the angry person.
Yeah. Sorry. I was mistaken with kudo.
Kuto. Right. No, this is kudo.
Yeah, sorry. This is the angry person. Yeah. Kudo atam is the benefit. Na janati doesn't know. He doesn't know the benefit. The angry person doesn't know the benefit. Kudo dhamma na pasati. The angry person doesn't see the doctrine.
Right. So let me just say this. There's a verb, kujati, and then there's this past participle, kudo, and this is a case of a past participle, which is the angry one, functioning as a subject, nominative subject. Okay, go on, please.
And that Tamam Tata Hoti Yang Koto Sahati Naram. Hoti Naram. Naram is the man. Sahati Koto Sahati Naram and the man. Sorry, Stephen. I need some help.
Okay, so we can start with tada, which would mean something like what then.
Then.
In other words, when this above line is taking place, then there is hoti anda tamang, which it's a compound of anda and tama, which means something like darkness and gloom or deep darkness, right? And then this neuter young, I would not take it as a pronoun, but rather this neuter young often has a kind of conditional sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I would take it something like when. You can find in the Pali English Dictionary entry for ya. That would be the relative pronoun. There's a whole section on the uses of the neuter as a conditional. So I would take that like that, this like that, young, then the person, so quote the angry one, anger, then anger, sahate. Now this is a form of the verb we haven't had yet, which we find often in poetry. It's what's called the middle voice.
See.
It means, but we can just know that it means overcomes, and then it overcomes narang, accusative. It overcomes the person. If you want to read about middle voice, you can find it I looked it up on a page 154. So, translating this line together, then there is darkness and gloom when anger overcomes a person. Oop, I've messed up. When darkness overcomes a person. Do you see that now, Tet?
Sure. Thank you. Sorry for this time, Stephen. Thank you.
No problem. Bronco, would you be able to finish up this for us, the last two lines, please? But you're muted.
Nasa hiri na otapam na vacho hoti garavo kodena abhibhutassa na deepam hoti kinchanam. Hiri na otapam, hiri and otapa, this is shame and remorse or something like that.
Yeah.
To call it na asa, it's a negation. Asa is to be. So there is no shame and no remorse.
It could be. I have to say, I personally took it as the asa as that dative genitive for him.
For him,
which would be the person we've been talking about.
But there is also some asa form of verb to be.
It would be the optative. Would be like a could be. There could be. But I don't think that's the sense. I think this is definite. Then there is no shame or moral dread for him.
For him. Okay. Na vacho hoti garavo. So no vacho is a speech. So probably his speech, hoti, is not garavo is with respect. Something.
Exactly. Then there's no respectful speech.
Respect, yeah, there's no respect in his speech. And kodena abhibhutassa, kodena abhibhutassa, so kodena is instrumental with anger, abhibhutassa. So okay, so it's dative for the one who is overcome, or how they say in English,
Yes.
With anger.
Exactly.
For the one overwhelmed with anger.
Yes.
There is no Deepam. Deepam is island, but also can be a refuge or something.
Yeah, we can take as island.
Island. No, island or lamp can be also. Hoti kinchanam. Kinchanam, what is, it's whoever or something like that.
Or any at all.
Any at all, yeah.
Right.
So there is no any land or any, I would say, refuge for him, or there is no something he can stick to or keep to.
Right. Yeah, Deepang, I think Deepa we can take as island.
No.
It's true, because we have this sort of ambiguity, because in Sanskrit we have Dvipa, which is Dve Api, two waters which go around this island, right? And then we have the word Deepa, which means lamp. But I think we find in Pali, when we are talking about lamps, we have Padipa with this pa. So I'm pretty sure here we're talking about like be an island to yourself. This thing. You have no, as you say, refuge is quite right.
Yeah, but that's what I think, that the meaning is that he cannot rely on anything or something like that.
Yes, there's no place of safety.
Safety, yeah.
Okay, very good. Are there any questions about these verses before we go on? If not, we go on to this piece of what's sometimes called paracanonical Nikaya. This is the Milinda Panha, the questions of Milinda. I think we've had maybe already in this book some pieces of this, which is much later, and it's a sort of hypothetical, somewhat imaginary maybe, set of questions and answers by a monastic, a Buddhist monk called Nagasena, and a king who was a real king called Milinda. I think his name was Menander. I think he was Greek, or part of the Greek Empire at least, and is quite big. And this is from a section called the Manasikara Lakkhana Panho. So the question about the characteristic of Manasikara, sometimes translated variously, sometimes translated as wise attention. Can somebody please explain for us just how this word works in Pali, Manasikara? How is this word made grammatically?
Well, this is compound. Manas is mind.
What case?
And this from karoti, or working of the mind, or something like that.
Yeah, kara is making.
Yeah.
And then what case is manasi, of manas?
Then genitive, probably.
No, it's locative.
No, locative.
So it's like a making in the mind, but it has that sense of a making in the mind, manas.
In the mind.
Yeah, locative, look in the location of the mind. But it has the more sense of a very clear attention. Okay. So, Diane, can you start for us, please, the first sentence?
Raja aha kim lakano bante nagasena manasikaro kim lakana panyati. So the king said, Kim Lakano is the made up of Kim and Lakana. So he's asking, what is the characteristic, or what is the mark, Honorable Nagasena, of the, well, wise attention, the making in the mind?
Okay.
What is the Kim Lakana? What is the characteristic of wisdom, Panya?
Good. So a couple of quick things. Notice we have this type of past tense, aha. This is sort of a We just have this in a few pieces. It's not a full conjugation. It was introduced in this chapter. It has the sense of a perfect past, I think. And what that means is that an event that has passed and also has completed already, that's a perfect past, aha. And notice also that when we have manasikaro, which is a masculine nominative, we have kim lakano to match. And then when we have panya, a feminine noun, we have it also matching as kim lakana. Okay, Diane, please continue for us. One more sentence.
Uhana lakano ko Maharaja manasikaro chedana lakana panyati. So Uhana lakano is a compound word made up of uhanam and lakana. And it is, Uhana can be, it's neuter, can be consideration or reasoning or examination. Examination is the mark, O king, of attention, manasikaro. And chedana lakana is also a compound word. Chedana is a present participle of chindati, to cut off. So it's cutting or severing is the mark of wisdom.
Good. Okay, so I just have a note here myself. We're not going to get too much into the nature of compounds, the taxonomy of compounds here, but I'm taking uhana lakano as what's called a Bahubihi compound. This is a word in Sanskrit, it's Bahuvrihi. It literally has the meaning of much rice, which doesn't really mean anything to us. But what a Bahubihi compound means, it's a compound that refers to something outside the compound. It's essentially an adjective. And so uhana lakano is an adjective for manasikaro. And so one way to translate this would be, reflection has the characteristic of examination, and wisdom has the characteristic of cutting through. That's one way to translate it. Okay, Fiakar, can you please continue?
Sure. Okay. So, katang uhana lakano manasikaro, katang chedana lakana panya opamang karohiti. So I stop with that and go, okay, so katang means how. So how is, so we're going with examination, the characteristic of attention, or and how is cutting or severing the characteristic of the characteristic of wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Please make an example.
And what is karohi as grammatically?
Karohi, that's so karohi, I would go with, that is a imperative, but it's got a longer e because the because it comes before t.
Exactly. So it's exactly as you say. Very good. Thank you. Why don't you do one more sentence, please?
Okay. Janasi Tvang Maharaja Lava Lakvake Ti. Okay. So, do you know, oh great king, reapers? So, do you know reapers?
Well, what about Yava?
Oh, sorry. Yes, barley reapers. Do you know barley reapers? Right. Yeah.
Right. So Yava Lava KR is what case and number?
So that would be accusative plural.
Yes. Right. Do you know these barley cutters or reapers or harvesters? Mm-hmm. Good. Thank you. And of course, we have the answer, Ama Bante Janami. Yes, Bante, I know it. I know them. Okay, Lisa, can you continue?
Yes. Katang Maharaja Yavalavaka Yavang Lunantiti So Katang's how, great king, do barley reapers or cutters reap barley.
Right.
Lunanti is the third person plural, and then Yavang is barley in the accusative case, singular.
And Yava Lavaka.
Yavalavaka, that's plural.
In what case?
Nominative.
Right. So how do these barley cutters cut the barley? I think we have a question from Huilin.
No. Yava Lavake, shouldn't that be accusative?
Your question is Yava Lavake?
Yeah. Shouldn't that be accusative, plural?
Is it accusative? Do you know Yava Lavake? Accusative plural?
That's masculine.
Yeah, it could be. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's not Maybe it's not nominative. Okay. Sorry. Okay, could you continue for us, Lisa, please?
Yeah, so Vamina Bante, Hatena Yavaka Lapang, Ihetwa Dakinena Hatena Datang, Kahetwa Datena Chindantiti. So I believe this is the King Melinda speaking. So Bante, Venerable. And then the gerund having taken, that is Kahetwa, having taken a, let's see, that,
what's the object of the taking?
Yava Kalapang, so that the...
What is a Yava Kalapang?
I see. Kalapa is a bundle of barley.
Good. So having taken a bundle of barley.
And you have a note, as a tapurisa?
I think it's a tapurisa type of compound because it's a genitive, a bundle of barley.
Okay, yeah.
Don't worry about that for now.
Okay.
And then how is it done?
It's done with the left hand, the Vamena, Hatena.
Right. So having taken the bunch of barley with the left hand, and go on.
Yeah, and then another gerund, having taken a datang, that's a sickle, with the right hand, dakinena, hatena.
Good.
And then they cut chindanti, they cut with the sickle, the datena.
Exactly. They cut it with the sickle, or that means this cutting tool. Right, the sickle. Thank you. And thank you also, Yava Lavake should be the accusative plural. I guess I misspoke. I apologize. Mark, do you have a question?
Could you explain why all those sentences have T at the end and why it's outside the quotation marks?
The T is essentially means end quote. It has a sense of marking the end of a piece of direct speech. And so we keep in mind that these texts were all delivered orally, not on a paper. And so when we hear this T, we understand that somebody has made a statement, which we would on paper put in these quotes, and it's the end of this quote. And so this helps us understand that we are having an alteration of speakers. Okay. But notice in Pali that there's no beginning quote. There's only a word for end quote. So that's what this T means. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. So anytime there was a text that was basically repeating a conversation between two people, you would see this T at the end of every speaker.
Well, anytime you have a sentence which is a piece of speech, like somebody speaking a line out loud, we would have this T to mark that they've completed their phrase or sentence.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Huilin, you have a question too? I don't hear you.
No, I was hoping to have a go at the questions.
Okay. Oh, yes. Do you want to go next? Please go ahead.
All right, let me try.
From Yata.
Yes. Yata Maharaja Javalavako Vamena Hatena Yava Kalapang Gatetwa Dakinena Hatena Gatang Gahetwa Yavang Chindati. Oh, so long. Evako Maharaja Yoga Vacharo Manasikarena Manasang Katehwa Panaya Kilese Chindati.
Right. Very good.
Oh gosh, this is long. Okay, Yata, it's an adverb, indeclinable, usually just as or like.
Yes.
Yeah, Maharaja is vocative singular, O great king. Yava is Bali. Lavaka
Well, let's start with the Gahetva.
Okay. Where am I? Gaheva. Having taken. So it would be just as O king, Bali cutter or reaper, having taken.
Right.
So having taken a bundle that would be Yava Kalapang, a bundle of barley, with his hand or with their hands.
Well, which hand?
Secular, with his left hand.
Right.
Yamena, sorry.
Vamena. V.
With his
left hand.
Mena. Yes, left hand. Hatena, yes. And then
then we have another Gahetva.
Yes, and he's taken a sickle on his with his right hand.
Yes.
Dakinena, and he cuts the barley, I guess. Yes, he cuts the barley.
Right.
Evam ko would be thus, Eva verily, or usually put in even so or in this manner.
Right.
In a similar manner.
Exactly. It's completing this simile, which has started with Yata. Exactly.
Then indeed, O king, O great king. This is a good one. Yoga Vacharo, it would be someone who practices spiritual exercise. So I guess an what do you call it? Aspirant?
Aspirant? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, someone who wants to be.
Yeah.
He would then take hold of his mind, or he grabs his mind, the manasam.
Right.
With attention, which is manasikarina.
Yes.
Yes, and then having done so, he cuts off chindati, his impurities or kilesa, which is defilements.
Yes.
With wisdom.
Exactly.
Panaya.
Is exactly right.
Yes. Thank you.
Very good. Well done. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Welcome.
Okay. Sarah, can you complete this for us?
Sure. Evameva ko, Maharaja. Puhana lakano manisikaro evam chedana lakana panyati. Kalosi pante nagasena. So indeed, thus, O great king, examination, uhana, is the characteristic, lakano, of attention. And thus, cutting off, chetana lakana, is the characteristic of wisdom. You are clever, Venerable Nagasena.
Right. So what is kalosi grammatically? What's missing in this contraction?
Let's see. I should have written that down, but I did not. I'm afraid.
So you said it in English. You are clever.
Oh, it's asi.
Asi, right.
Are. Okay.
You are kalo, clever.
Kalo asi. Okay.
And notice that when we use this verb to be, what's predicated is also nominative, right? Kalo asi. You are clever, Bante Nagasena. And notice here, Mark, we have this long simile starting with the yata, and when we get to the end of the sentence, chindati, there's no ti because this speaker is continuing, right? In other words, Bante Nagasena is continuing to speak all the way through Chedana Lakana Panyati, end quote. And then we have the king reply, Kalosi Bante Nagasena ti. Okay, good. Maybe we can begin in our last few minutes this another one from Anguttara. I'll start. I've put in something that's missed, was sort of put in ellipses, which was sort of just omitted, just maybe to make it easier. I have it here in light blue. It's not super crucial. Atako anyataro brahmano yena bhagava ten upasankamitva bhagavata sading samodhi. So then, at that time, so we're sort of jumping into the middle of a story here, right? This is probably not the beginning of the whole discourse. So then, at that time, a certain Brahmin, anyataro Brahmin, and then here we have our yena, Tena construction, approached the Blessed One, upasankamitva. Having approached him, he exchanged friendly greetings, samodhi, sading bhagavata, with the Blessed One, with the Bhagavata is with, right? And then here, this missing little piece, samodhaniyang katang saraniyang vitisharetva ekamantang nisidi. So here, vitisharetva is another absolutive, having the sense of having exchanged. And what are they exchanging? Katang, talk. And the talk is being described with two adjectives, samodhaniyang and saraniyang, friendly and polite, or polite and cordial. This is a very stock phrase. We see this over and over again. We never seem to find out what exactly they say, but we know that they're speaking to each other with polite talk, right? And then we have ekamantang nissino ko so brahmano bhagavantang etad avocha. So nissino is seated. This is nisidati, past participle. Eka antang, to one side. So brahmano, that Brahmin. Etad avocha, said this to the Blessed One, Bhagavantang. What does he say? Sanditiko dhammo ti, bogotama vuchati, kitavata nuko bogotama, sanditiko dhammo hoti. And I've put in what's actually left out, which are the other 5 classic sort of appellations of the Dhamma. Akaliko, ehipasiko, upanayako, and pachatang veditabo vinyuhi. So sanditiko has the meaning of directly visible. And it's characteristic of these discourses that the question is sort of repeated twice, or said twice. The Dhamma is directly visible. the Dhamma is directly visible. Venerable, maybe we shouldn't say venerable, Master Gotama. So this is this Brahmin type of respectful address in the vocative, Bogotama. Vuchati, it is said. Kitavata, in what way, Bogotama, is the Dhamma directly visible? Right? Mark, you have a question?
I just want to check because the T is in the middle. So is this a person speaking and repeating what somebody else said?
Yes.
In the middle of that sentence?
Right. Because then we get this marker, it is said. And what is said? Sanditiko Dhammo. So in other words, this certain Brahmin has heard this phrase. The Dhamma is directly visible. And he's kind of quoting it back to Gotama.
Yeah.
And he's asking why. So this kind of quotes is put with the T.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
And also notice that the speech of the Brahmin himself has the T marker, which starts at Kitavata. To what extent, in what way? Okay. Jim, can you continue for us? You're muted, I'm afraid.
Kenehi Brahmana Kaneveta Patipuchisa Sami Yatate Kameya Tata Nam Byakarayasi.
Okay, so this is kind of a classic phrase. Tell us about it.
Well, so Tani, in that case, Brahman,
how can you explain for us tan ev eta? Well, how would you break that down grammatically?
I'm not sure.
It's actually tongue. That's with the nigahita. Tongue plus eva plus eta. So what's missing in the parenthesis, that apostrophe, is the eva. So eta is here, right? The eva is sort of emphatic, and the tongue would be probably equivalent of tvang, you. So, and pati puchi sami is
is sort of
what?
It's I will ask. So
yeah, what tense?
I thought it was just first person singular.
Yeah, but what is it in the present? Is it in the past, or is it in the future?
I thought it was in the present.
No, it's a future with this double S marker. Tells us that we're talking about a future conjugation. So this puchiti has the sense of questioning, and the pati prefix has the sense of turning back. So it has the sense of in return, I'll question you, tan eveta, about this, about you here. So in other words, putting this together, tenehi brahmana tan eveta patipuchisami means, in that case, Brahmin, I will question you in return. So in other words, instead of just answering this question, he says, but I have a question for you. So pati puchisami, in return, I will question, and then tan eta has the sense, it's a bit idiomatic, but it has the sense of you here. Do you see that now?
Yeah.
So in other words, putting it together, the translation is in tenahi, in that case, Brahman, I will question you in return here. Okay? And then the next sentence is also part of this somewhat stock phrase. Yata te kameya tata nang byakareyasi. So yata is going with the tata. So the yata is the relative. So it means like in whichever way. And then kameya is in what form of the verb is that? Jim.
Is that that would be absolutive?
No, it's an optative.
Oh, okay.
The optative with this double Y ending. So kamati is correct or fitting. So yata te kameya, in whatever way it seems correct. So remember, the optative has this conditional sort of hypothetical sense. Te, to you, tata, there, in that way, nang bya kareyasi, you should answer that. So the nang is the same as a tongue, it's a variant, and it's you should answer that. So in a literal sense, it says, in what way it seems fitting to you, in that way you should answer that. In other words, tell me what you really think. Does that make sense now to you?
Yes.
Okay, so this is somewhat of a stock phrase. We have it quite often in the canon, and so now you'll know going forward. So I think we're pretty much out of time, unfortunately. I just wanted to mention very briefly, because the next sentence is a little bit complicated. It has this sense of direct speech. This is also referring to Mark's good question in the middle of the sentence. And it has a sequence of accusatives, which can be probably taken in a couple of ways. So this could be confusing only in the sense that the idea that's being expressed is expressed in a somewhat idiomatic way, but what's really being expressed is not too hard to understand. And so I'll just do this quickly so it's not a cliffhanger for the whole week, if you don't mind. So, Tung King Manyasi, what do you think, Brahmin? And then the question is, Sang Tangva Ajatang Ragang, Atime Ajatang Ragoti Pajanasi. So the verb here is pajanasi, you understand. And then we have this whole string of accusatives. So santang va ajatang ragang. Santang is a participle, present participle of ati, being, ajatang ragang, which has the literal sense of internal passion, internal lust. Then this direct speech, so this is this classic Sanskrit Pali direct speech. It's like a thought bubble that pops up in the mind of the person. So if you know comic strips, you know that kind of indicator of the little circles, meaning somebody has this idea. And what does this person have this idea? Atime ajatang rago. There is, for me, internally passion. Or there is passion for me internally. Now keep in mind, in the Pali language, there is no verb to have. And so we can't express it in what we as English speakers might think is an easier way, which is saying, I have anger. So there is for me anger internally. So and then the second half of the sentence, asatang va ajatang ragang nati me ajatang ragoti pajanasi. So let me translate this. What do you think, Brahmin? When there is internal passion, do you know there is passion internally for me? Or when there is not existing passion internally, do you know there isn't passion existing internally for me? Which is another way to say, you know when you're angry, right? Or when you're not angry. This is essentially what he's saying, but it's somewhat convoluted to our English-speaking ears, but this is what's being expressed. And of course the answer is yes. So I'm sorry if that seemed a little bit confusing, but the key to know is that santang and asatang is existing or being and not being. And ajitang is this a sense of internally, or maybe even personally. And this mini ati me ajitang, or nati me ajitang, is the thought or the understanding of the person. There is, for me, internally passion, or there is not, for me, internally passion. Or to put it in a more normal English sense, I'm angry, or I'm not angry, or I'm not passionate. So this is that sentence, and we'll continue next week. Are there any other final questions about this reading so far?
Yeah, I have a question.
Please.
So I noticed that raga is in the accusative case in the question, but in the nominative in the quote. Can you explain that?
Yeah. So we can take santang va ajitang ragang as perhaps the object of pajanasi. So when, but it's a little confusing because another way to take this, which I'm trying to avoid, is referring to this as an accusative absolute. It could be an accusative absolute, but the general sense of it is, well, we'll start with the direct quote, the direct speech. There is raga internally for me. Now we understand that very clearly grammatically, right? So raga is being predicated by the ati, so it's in the nominative, and then for me, and then this adverbial sense of the accusative internally, right? And then the question is, why are santang va ajitang ragang all in the accusative? And one answer is because it's the object of this knowing, pajanasi. It's all a direct object of the pajanasi. Another possible answer, if you're aware of the Vijayasekara book about Pali cases and syntax, he says this could be taken as a absolute construction with accusative, and it just has the sense of while or when. Does that answer your question?
Yes, that is clear. That makes sense.
Okay. The key thing to know is that the sense is in fact while or during or when. When there's anger, you know there's anger. When there's not anger, you know there's not anger. That's essentially what it means. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Any final questions? We'll go over this again next week. We'll talk about it more. If not, then I thank you all very much for your kind attention and your help. And I will look forward to seeing you next Sunday. We will finish up this reading, and we have a few verses from the Dhammapada. And then, of course, we will go on to Lesson 7, Initial. So please prepare the remainder of this lesson and the beginning sections of Lesson 7. If you have any burning questions, you can always email me and I will try to help. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stephen.
Okay, you're very welcome.
Happy holidays. Thank you.
Happy holidays. Happy New Year. See you next year.
See you next year.
Okay.
See you.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.